What if faith isn't what you say, but what you do when no one is watching? What if the difference between a living faith and a dead one is not belief, but action? And what if the life you're living right now is already revealing what you truly believe? There's a quiet tension that lives inside many believers, a tension between knowing and doing, between saying I trust God and actually living like we do. It's easy to speak about faith in moments of comfort, but the real test comes when faith demands movement, when it calls us to act, to step out, to respond. In the book of Epistle of James chapter 2, verses 14 to 26, we encounter one of the most direct and challenging messages in all of Scripture. It doesn't comfort us, it confronts us. It doesn't allow us to hide behind words. It calls us into visible, tangible obedience. The question is simple, but deeply unsettling. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Think about that for a moment. Not if someone doesn't believe, but if someone claims to believe. There's a difference. Faith, according to this passage, is not just an internal agreement. It's not just saying the right things, attending church, or knowing Scripture. Real faith moves, it breathes, it acts. Imagine someone comes to you in need, hungry, cold, desperate, and you say, "Go in peace, stay warm and well fed." But you do nothing to help them. No food, no coat, no action. What kind of faith is that? James says it plainly. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Dead. That word carries weight. It's not weak faith, it's not immature faith, it's not still growing faith, it's dead. And that forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. Is my faith alive? Because living faith cannot stay hidden. It reveals itself in the way we treat people, in the choices we make, in the sacrifices we're willing to offer. It shows up in kindness when it's inconvenient, in generosity when it costs us something, in obedience when it doesn't make sense. Faith is not proven in comfort, it's proven in action. James goes even further. He anticipates the argument many people make. You have faith, I have deeds, as if the two can exist separately. But he responds with something powerful. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. In other words, faith is invisible, but actions make it visible. You can't see belief, you can't measure trust in the heart, but you can see what someone does. Actions are the language of faith. They are the evidence that something real is happening inside. Even demons, James says, believe that God exists, and they shudder. So belief alone isn't enough. Let that sink in. It's possible to believe all the right things about God, and still not live a life that reflects Him. It's possible to know truth without being transformed by it. And that's where many people get stuck. They think faith is about information, about knowledge, about agreement. But faith is about transformation. It's about surrender. It's about allowing what you believe to shape how you live. James gives us two powerful examples to illustrate this truth: Abraham and Rahab. Abraham, known as the father of faith, believed God's promise. But his faith wasn't just words. It was demonstrated when he was willing to offer his son Isaac on the altar. That act didn't create his faith, it revealed it. His obedience showed that his trust in God was real. Faith and action worked together. And then there's Rahab, an unlikely example. A woman with a past, someone society might overlook. But when she chose to hide the spies and align herself with God's people, her actions revealed her faith. She didn't just believe, she acted. And because of that, she became part of a greater story. These two examples, so different in background, status, and story, both point to the same truth. Real faith moves. It acts, it risks, it obeys, and it changes lives. So what does that mean for us today? It means faith is not just something we carry, it's something we live. It's in the way we forgive when we've been hurt. It's in the way we speak truth when it's uncomfortable. It's in the way we serve without recognition. It's in the way we trust God when the outcome is uncertain. Faith in action might look small to the world, but it's powerful in the eyes of God. A kind word, a generous gift, a step of obedience, a moment of courage. These are not insignificant. They are the visible expression of something invisible but real. And here's something important to understand. James is not saying that we earn salvation through works. That's not the message. We are saved by grace through faith. But the kind of faith that saves is never alone. It produces something. It changes something. It leads to action. Think of it like this. A tree is known by its fruit. If there's no fruit, something is wrong. Not because fruit earns the life of the tree, but because it reveals it. In the same way, our actions don't create faith, but they confirm it. They show that it's alive. And if there are no actions, no evidence, no movement, no change, we have to be honest enough to ask, is my faith real? That question isn't meant to condemn, it's meant to awaken, because God doesn't want a faith that sits still. He calls us into a faith that walks, that reaches, that responds, a faith that reflects His heart, a faith that makes a difference. And sometimes that means stepping out when you feel unprepared. Sometimes it means loving people who are hard to love. Sometimes it means choosing integrity when it would be easier to compromise. Sometimes it means trusting God when you don't understand what He's doing. Faith in action is not always comfortable, but it is always meaningful. It's where growth happens. It's where transformation takes place. It's where God works through us in ways we never imagined. You don't need perfect faith to take action. You just need willing faith. Even small steps matter. Even quiet obedience matters. Even unseen acts of love matter. Because God sees, and He works through those moments. So today, take a moment to reflect, not just on what you believe, but on how you live. Where is your faith visible? Where is it active? Where is it making a difference? Is there someone you need to help? A step you need to take? A change you need to make? Don't wait for the perfect moment. Faith doesn't wait, it moves. And when it does, it becomes something powerful. Something alive. Something that reflects the very nature of God. Because God Himself is not passive. He acts, He loves, He gives. And when we live by faith, we begin to reflect that same character. Faith in action is not about being perfect, it's about being real. Real in your trust, real in your obedience, real in your response to God's calling. And as you step into that kind of faith, you'll begin to see something incredible. Your life becomes more than just belief. It becomes a testimony, a living expression of God's presence and power, a light in a world that desperately needs to see something genuine. Because in the end, people may not hear everything you say, but they will see how you live. And your actions will speak louder than your words ever could. So let your faith speak, let it move, let it act, let it live. Because faith that is alive doesn't stay hidden, it changes everything. Thank you for watching this video. If this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like, follow the channel, and share this video with someone who needs encouragement today.